Hello, everyone. I'm Renee Bassett, Chief Editor of Automation.com, the information and news resource from ISA, the International Society of Automation. And today I am talking with Stefan Basenach, Senior Vice President of Global Automation for ABB. Welcome, Stefan. I'm happy to be talking with you today.
Hello, Renee. Thanks for having me here.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are before we get into our discussion?
Can give some words about me. So Stefan Basenach, I'm working in the automation area since decades now. At the moment, heading the automation technology department of ABB, where we are responsible for developing, producing, and shipping our control systems around the world.
Well, and that's why we're talking to you today, because industries are operating in a context of a lot of rapid change and unpredictability, and also pressures on the business objectives for industrial automation. So I wanted to have you give us a little context from your experience about what challenges industries are facing today.
Yeah, as you know, we are serving a huge area of industries, which is oil and gas, chemicals, but also cement, metals, mining, to marine and ports. So the variety is very big. But it's good to see that as they use the same automation, at the moment they're also facing the same kind of challenges. The volatility in the market and the speed of change in the market is very, very high, driven by several parameters and trends. And this is really common across all industry we are facing. On top of that, we have the cybersecurity challenges. On top of that, we have the sustainability compliance challenges. And overall, with the decarbonization of the industry, so moving towards electricity, this is another common aspect of the automation part in all our industries.
We're definitely seeing that on our side too. All of the research and reporting we've been doing is a lot of industries are looking to upgrade and better meet those challenges.
To survive. It's not a matter of being state of the art. For many of them, it's really a matter of surviving in the industry they are in today.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about how these challenges are affecting users from your perspective, what you're seeing with your customers?
I like that question because looking at the user perspective, I think that's what you always try to do. And automation has been around for decades now when we started to ship the first, in that case, analog automation systems.
Yes.
And over time, we learned that the value of automation is when we can provide value to the user, to the operator of the plant. And that means the business manager responsible for the plant, but also the operator sitting in front of the machines, managing the plant via monitors, and also the people going in the plant to exchange a pressure transmitter or whatever. So this is really our focus point. And what they see is a demand for high flexibility. When we built a plant 20 years ago, we built it, we run it for 20 years, but now they need to adapt rather on a monthly or weekly base to adapt to the challenges. The amount of data they need to digest is unbelievable. And that starts with the alarm list, but also the intelligence in the field is producing so many data, and the data needs to be somehow managed, and you need to differentiate which data are important, which are not. And then there's a totally new internal threat with cybersecurity, where the IT department is going in the plants and tries to understand, are we really safe? Is somebody able to hack this refinery, which can have a very, very bad impact on the industry, on the plant, on the customer reputation. And finally, as we talked about the plants being in a kind of survival race, daily optimization of the plants is a continuous challenge they have. And that perspective is really the driver for everything we do around the new way of doing automation.
You mentioned earlier about the different levels of people within a plant that automation systems support and have to interact with. It seems to me that one of the additional challenges is just supporting the diverse skill sets, all the different levels of people who need information.
We did that already, but with the massive increase of data available, you also need to be very flexible in getting the right information at the fingertip of the person that requires the information.
Yes.
And if you are an engineer for process optimization that's totally different than if you are an operator who needs to start up the plant every day, run a batch process, and you need to manage the recipes. Again, you have a different perspective. So this is a normal requirement for automation systems. What's coming on top is managing the massive amount of data they get. And
Yes.
when we have those data and AI is around, and I'm sure we talk about a little bit more about that in a minute, but AI is one of those solutions. How can AI help to get the data faster, the data you need,
Mm-hmm.
to make you able to take the right decision? So that's one of the new things that's coming massively, and what
Mm-hmm.
we want to and what we are adapting to help the user to manage the job better than before.
Gotcha. I look forward to talking with you about that. ABB previously shared its process automation system vision, and now you're realizing that vision with ABB's Automation Extended. Can you explain in simple terms what this is and how it benefits both users and potential users of ABB's automation control systems?
Yeah, as I said, 4 years ago, we published a white paper called Automation Vision, where we described the frame of what we think will define a future automation system. And Automation Extended is bringing that into reality in practical and usable deployable solutions. Automation Extended is enhancing the automation ECS system with edge computing, with real-time data analytics, and with continuous lifecycle management. So how do we do that? Automation Extended describes an automation ecosystem that follows the principle of separation of concerns. So we have two environments that build the ecosystem. The one environment is the control environment. So that's where you have your stable automation, that part that works today in many plants, where you have the control loop, where you measure the signals, where you have a startup procedure. So that's the stable part. And on top of that, you have a digital environment where you innovate, where you bring in the new technology like AI, where you have new dashboards, where you can use data outside of the control system. And for us, it's important to have those two environments, but to link them in a clever way, that they can always cooperate. Because the one environment is moving very slow. You want to be stable. You want to make sure that nobody stops the refinery working. On the other side, in digital environment, you want to innovate daily, hourly, weekly, monthly to improve the output of the plant. And we do that with the technical concept. We call it a data diet, where we ensure that the communication between those two levels are controlled in a very clever way. And finally, as both of those environments are software packages, you need to manage them. You need to make sure that only the software that is allowed to run on which environment is running there. You need to manage patches. You need to manage certifications, etc., etc. So we are strong believer that the management of those two environments, although they have developments in different speeds, are managed at one place. So to sum it up, Automation Extended is an ecosystem. It has two parts: the control environment, digital environment, managed by a central management portal.
You see. It sounds like that's an ideal way to go from legacy systems, those slow speeds, those ones, like you said, that need to be around reliably for many, many years, and innovate with a lot of the new technologies that we have, because there's so many new technologies out now that are of great benefits.
The trick is the combination of both. That's what really the customer needs. Because in the consumer industry, if you're not happy with your phone, you buy the next phone. You finally cannot do that as such. So that even in the control parts, they want to be able to add functionality without disturbing the control core. Just as an example, so if you, because of decarbonization, you want to replace a burner who's using oil today or gas by electrical heating. That's a change in your control system. And you need to adapt that in the control part. When you have it done, you want to use renewable energy for this electric heating, which is a volatile energy source. So in the digital environment, you can have optimization algorithms that help you to optimize this volatile energy. But to control the electric heating that produce the heat for your process is very stable and it's not changing. So this is one example where you see in an easy way, in my view, how those things work together.
Well, that leads me to my next question because there are key motivators among users with regard to wanting to change or upgrade their systems. And one of the things pushing them is the business need to decarbonize and to
Mm.
manage all of that. What more can you tell me about how Automation Extended helps an industry with decarbonization efforts?
Yeah, we have no direct influence on decarbonization. I think the controller itself or an IO card doesn't change the carbon footprint of the plant. But we, with this automation extended concept, with this ability in a modular way to add new functionality to your control system, this is how we support the customer. And this example
Hmm.
of replacing a gas burner with electric heating is one example.
Hmm.
Introducing heat pumps, improving the replacing or adding a drive to a motor. So those are all things where a flexible system, which open standards, can help you to implement those decarbonization activities. So
Hmm.
let's say we have a motor in the plant and we add a drive. If that drive is supporting OpenCUA as a kind of common standard, we can directly link the drive with our control system. And while the digital environment, every single data this drive has, we can directly send to the digital environment and make even further improvements, asset management, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah? So this
Hmm.
kind of flexibility is helping the customer in one way. The second thing is this digitalization aspect. So using
Hmm.
AI, using volatile renewable energy, definitely need to have a home where this application can run, either in the cloud or on premise. And it always needs to be connected securely to your control system,
Hmm.
because you don't want to be shut down your refinery by an application in the cloud. That should never happen, never ever. Even if you don't run on your optimal
Yes.
working point, it should not be compromised by something outside of the control system. So enabling this digitalization, this application, it's a very important part. And finally, optimization. We always say every CO2 you don't produce, you don't need to take away. So if you improve the efficiency of your plant, the yield of your plant by 2%, and we produce CO2 to create this product, this optimization will reduce carbon directly. So
Hmm.
these are the three aspects: being able to change automation quickly, adding digital applications to make your process better, and
Hmm.
finally, this normal operational optimization to reduce from the beginning less CO2 when you run your plant.
Excellent. Well, that decarbonization example really gets to what we hear from users just in general about digitally transforming their environments so they can be more agile
Yeah.
and more digital, more
Mm.
open and modular. I heard you say that there's an openness to Automation Extended, and I'm very curious about what open means to ABB and whether Automation Extended is open with regard to and in what way.
Yeah. The main difference we have is that we decided to use OpenCUA as our standard network protocol. And this is new to the market. In
Hmm.
the past, or even today, every single control system have a proprietary communication protocol between their components, Gola, IOs, party package units, etc., etc.
Hmm.
So you always need to adapt the interface. It's a kind of engineered connection.
Hmm.
And we wanted to get out of that using OpenCUA. So we put the network in the middle of our system. And we
Mm.
are using the so-called pub-sub technology of OpenCUA. Pub means publishing and sub means subscription.
Okay.
So the network has all the data and the controller is just subscribing the data he needs to run his operation and publishing the data he wants to give to the network. And the
Hmm.
IO level is doing the same and the cloud application is doing the same. So this is creating a kind of openness. And that was my example with the drive. So if you have a
Hmm.
drive speaks OpenCUA, you don't need to think about is that whatever brand of a drive it is. You can
Hmm.
directly connect it via OpenCUA to the control system. You can directly connect the drive with the cloud for all the digital application. And that's the level of flexibility we want to achieve.
That does seem like what users we're talking to really want is a sort of agility in their ability to choose different
Yeah.
solutions and
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
more quickly.
Absolutely. Our customers are using a less positive wording I call it avoid the supplier lock-in, which is sounding less nice than agility, but it means the same.
Understood, and that's what they're going for is because 'cause they're making some big decisions as technology changes so quickly. I understand how, um, from ABB's perspective, you need to be able to adapt as well.
Absolutely. And we always need to be what we call innovation with continuity. So it's too easy to say, rip out all the stuff and replace it. That's not possible. I think the
Mhm,
automation is here to help production, to produce chemicals, to produce oil, to produce uh, beer or whatever,
mhm,
pharmaceutical. So we always need to give alternatives, continue what they have, and innovate where they really need innovation to improve their process. That's always the combination. And that's
mhm.
what we call innovation with continuity.
Um, and that also gives you some, life cycle independence, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are known in the market that we respect the assets our customers have. We call that installed base.
Mhm,
When the plants have a runtime of 40, 50, 60 years, we need to support that journey.
yes.
That means we always need to make sure that he has the ability to move forward. Security is a good example. You cannot make a very old release still super
Mhm,
secure, but what you can do, you offer migration paths where they can evolve to the level where they again are super secure. It's just one example.
mhm,
If they want to use AI functionality, they need to do some adders to their automation system, but we don't ask them to replace it all. And
mhm.
this stepwise approach, this modular approach of being able to innovate without ripping everything out, this is exactly the point you're addressing.
Well, that gets me to a specific question because ABB has a very large installed base around the world of users, and they may be currently using your flagship DCS system XA or Symphony Plus or Freelance. How does Automation Extended protect these customers' investments specifically?
Absolutely. And I can tell you, beside that, those products, we even have products that are longer on the market than that. So this is exactly what we try to do with the automation extended approach and those two environments I mentioned.
Hmm.
So for those customers, we can continue to use the existing control core. So they can keep the controller, they can keep the IOs they have. They're innovating on the operations sides. They install the latest 18XA, um, 7.0, that's the latest version. Not to bother you with the release name. Yeah. Having 7.0 in the plant, which is normal migration, it's nothing special. They're
Hmm.
entering the stage for automation extended because
I
then the
see.
digital environment is already existing. It's already coming with its new technology.
Hmm.
So you see, they can keep 80, 90% of the plant as it is, but moving into automation extended, they have the pro portfolio of the digital environment where they can innovate as they want. And one day they may decide, okay, now it's time. The runtime of this control system is over even after 20, 25 years. Even our systems start being old. So
Hmm.
then they can decide either exchange IOs or exchange controllers. This is normal migration process they know already.
Hmm.
The, the thinking is we give it in the hand of the customer to decide what makes business-wise sense for him to innovate. And for a new plant, it's a no-brainer. You take the newest stuff you have. For an already existing plant, which is making what it should do, you need to
Hmm.
have other solutions. And that's exactly what we offer with Automation Extended, with a flexible approach.
This might be a good time to talk about some of those AI innovations that you were mentioning earlier. Where do you see that fitting in terms of what your customers may be wanting to apply?
AI works, I would say, on every level. So if you have a sensor which is using visual data, this is really on the sensor level, on the field level.
Mhm,
We will also see some control algorithms, so control loops where AI can add value because you don't have a physical model. You want to use AI on that control loop level, then you use it on the control level.
mhm,
But here you always have the limitation of the CPU capacity, yeah, because you need to be real time. So you need to limit the complexity. But we will see AI on that level as well. Where AI really starts to pop in our views on the level that the operator sees. So for example, you have an AI application today the operator is sitting in front of his screen and he sees something he has never seen before. So then he has an application saying, like, this happened before. So the AI is looking into the database and finds out, okay, it happened 5 times. Then the operator can say, okay, what did I do in that time? What happened? What are scenarios? So the AI is bringing those scenarios, bringing in this led to a shutdown. Here, the team was able to compensate the error, etc., etc. And from there, he can simply say, okay, I want to take this better solution. And then the automation takes over and brings the plant back to normal operation. We call that augmented operator. So AI is helping the operator to take the right decisions. We keep the operator on that level still in charge, but we give him help to do the right stuff much, much faster than before. And independent on the operator who's sitting there, because sometimes you have a very experienced operator, sometimes you have a youngster, which is not good or bad, it's just a fact. So this is, in our view, very helpful. And the last level is really where you have these heavy applications, where you include renewable energy, stock markets, weather data, battery storage, and whatever. And this is happening either on the big edge or even in the cloud. Or if you have AI working on multi-site, multi-plant, global assessments, dashboards. So that's a different level of AI. So AI is on every level. We are a little bit careful following this AI hype because it's not about technology. It's all about, is it really adding value to the production of the facility? That is what counts. Because if the customer doesn't earn a penny more, why should he invest in the latest technology? And that's what we need to prove. We as supplier need to prove our customers it's adding value. And then he's willing to pay money for it. So sorry for that longer answer, but
No,
I had to cover that different levels. Yeah.
Excellent context, because I think that's very much where many users are right now with regard to AI.
Yeah.
There's the hype factor, and then there's so many levels where it can be used.
But we also have a pretty ambitious vision. The vision we have is really the autonomous plant, that you can run a plant in the night without an operator sitting there. That you can run a plant over the weekend. And again, that's on every level. You need AI for that in the field, on the controller level, on-premise, on the edge, and in the cloud. And all together, potentially, maybe not a refinery in the first stage, but less critical plants where this is possible. And that's what we are heading for. So we keep the ambition level, but we always challenge the ambition level with the real need of our customers.
What that makes me think of is a good transition to ABB's use of automation lifecycle services and how that is used, or an element of Automation Extended.
Yeah, it's a super critical element. We spoke about this cybersecurity, we spoke about the flexibility, etc. This is a totally different work in the past, where you install the automation system and then you try to forget it because it just had to do its job. Now we need to maintain it every day, every second, to either stay compliant or to optimize the process. And this is lifting the demand of what you need to do as a life cycle management. So you always need to manage the certificates, you always need to manage the patches, you always need to make sure that your switches are working well. You always need to make sure that your edge applications are still running, that they don't producing data that nobody uses. You need to manage the attacks from the outside, etc., etc. So we need to enable the control system that it can be managed like today a IT network. That's it. And therefore, we need to create a new level of application we call lifecycle management, where the system itself tells the user, I'm healthy, I'm doing well. And you can easily extend that. A field measurement, a sensor, is also nothing else than a computer. So just imagine this field instrument also tells you, I'm healthy, I'm good, or I need help, or I may fail the next weeks. The same for drives, the same for electrical equipment. So our dream is that we have a living ecosystem with intelligent devices, and the automation system is developing into a life cycle management of those digital, knowledgeable assets in the plant. So also here we have a pretty broad visionary perspective, and we are also humble enough to understand this goes only step by step. But you need to start somewhere, and you need to have a home where you want to put that. And this is our lifecycle management as part of Automation Extended.
And it seems like then that goal of truly autonomous systems, it's not only AI about the operations, but it's also these intelligent devices that are checking their own health and making sure they're okay and warning someone if they're not.
Absolutely. So this is done by what we call service people that go in the plant and check the field instrument. In future,
Mhm,
if you want to be autonomous, this needs to be done by machines.
mhm.
And if they're intelligent, it's better they communicate to each other instead of having a kind of, those Boston Dynamic service dogs. That is
Yes.
also an alternative they're searching for. There might be some cases where you need those, but we believe we can handle a lot with our automation system.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. It truly does. We've talked a lot about the vision and the benefits from the user perspective, but I would like to talk a little bit from ABB's perspective. So, a few years from now, if you were to look back from what would you say what would success look like for ABB Automation Extended?
Yeah, let me go back to the white paper we had. So 4 years ago, we created this kind of visionary technology concept.
Hmm.
With Automation Extended, we have now something we can bring to the market. And this is an offer to the market. We believe it's a flexible offering where every customer can decide what do I need, when do I need it, and how can I evolve my plans. I would be very happy if this offering leads to a situation where with many different unique implementation of Automation Extended that are not measured by how many licenses we sold, but rather managed, did we always do the best for our customer? Was he able to pick exactly what he needed, not because it's nice technology, but because it helped him to manage the challenges he had before? So again, this customer perspective shall be is the master KPI for Automation Extended. Can Automation Extended be so flexible, so dynamic, so modular that you are able to fulfill as many different customer challenges at the same time using the same technology? That's my personal definition. So
Hmm.
I hope to see those different implementation around the world when I travel around in 5 years from now.
That's a very good way to end our conversation today because I appreciate your time and this perspective. My last question is if people are looking for more information and want to know what ABB is doing, what should they look for either online or through your technical community?
First of all, to our customers, we are working together already today. I
Mhm.
think the best thing is to talk to the people you know and try to understand as it's not a product, it's a concept, it's an offering. So you need to have this dialogue to really understand what pieces of that solution really fit to your market. The other is the normal way. It's online, it's via fairs. We will do a lot of social media communication. This podcast is one part of the communication. It needs a dialogue because the world out there is complex. The people that pretend they have easier solution for it, where you just read a brochure and all your challenges are solved, I think they oversimplify the word. So we are looking for the dialogue in whatever media concept setting. That's the way we want to introduce Automation Extended.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Stefan. I really enjoyed talking with you today. And I appreciate you spending time explaining your solutions to our listeners.
Also, thank you from my side. Thanks a lot.